Hey, konnichiwa minasan, it's Gray from Wakizashi's Teahouse over in Japan. How are you doing? Are you good? Are you genki? Today I have a review of The Hunger and the Dusk, issue 6, written by Willow Wilson. It's got art by Chris Wildgoose. I gotta say, I do love that name. Published, of course, by IDW. Price $3.99, and it came out today. Happy Valentine's Day, February the 14th, 2024. I'm late to The Hunger and the Dusk, but better late than never, right? Issue 1 was released back in July 2023, and since then I've been hearing a lot of positive talk about this series, so I picked up this latest issue today. Here's a very brief synopsis for the first issue to give you an idea what it's all about. In a dying world, only humans and orcs remain, mortal enemies battling for territory and political advantage. But when a group of fearsome ancient humanoids, known as the Vangol, arrive from across the sea, the two struggling civilizations are forced into a fragile alliance to protect what they have built. After a bit of online research, I discovered that this is planned as a single story, told over 12 issues. Following this issue, there will be a short hiatus until summer 2024, when issue 7 is published. That gives anyone who slept on this series a chance to catch up, and I strongly recommend that you do. Especially if you have any interest in the fantasy genre or the Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game. Co-creators Willow Wilson and Chris Wildgoose have created a rich and detailed high fantasy world populated by humans and orcs. Unsurprisingly, they don't get along and are at constant war with each other for control of the land. But the chance for an uneasy peace arrives in the shape of the ancient Vangol, a fierce and powerful race of humanoids from across the sea. Can the orcs and humans leave behind their warring ways and form an alliance against this deadly new threat? That's what this story is asking. And I'll tell you what, I am 100% in on this series after reading issue 6. I immediately bought the previous 5 issues, and I'm halfway through reading them as I write this review. Despite jumping into the story partway through, I didn't feel lost at all. In fact, I think issue 6 works well as a single story in the longer narrative. It can be enjoyed on its own, yet it leaves you curious to find out more about this world and what events led us here. On the lonely road back, our only companions are our memories. In this issue, we follow one of the main characters, Tara, as she makes her way back home. Tara is an orc healer, and she's riding a creature that looks a bit like a yak with wild boar tusks. As she travels, she reminisces about some of the events that led her to this point and place in time. The art by Chris Wildgoose is gorgeous and brings his fantasy world to life. I love the background details, and I was particularly impressed by the different characters' facial expressions all the way through this issue. I mean, it's really, really good. Great attention to detail. And this is all topped off by Michelle Sasik and Diana Sousa's colouring. That's right, there are 2 colourists listed. I think the main colourist is Michelle Sasik, and it says Diana Sousa is the assistant colourer. After a few pages, we get a flashback to the Silent Shore some years ago. We see Tara as a young student, and she seems more intent on enjoying the good weather than studying. I know that feeling. Wilson and Wildgoose use these flashbacks as a way of adding flesh and development to the characters. You're meeting characters that you've already met, like in the present day, but you see them when they were younger, you see how they kind of got to know each other, you start to see the connections. It's so well done. And again, just want to point out the lovely detail in these drawings and the great colours. Look at the art by Wildgoose. I love the backgrounds here, getting lost in the little details. But as I mentioned before, do take note of the facial expressions throughout this issue. They're so good, and it just continues through the series. Each character's got a distinctive personality and look to them. Back to the present, we've got Tara still travelling by herself. Look at those huge statues in the background, abandoned to time. We get a great little action scene here of some strange rat-like creatures who are about to attack her, but she throws a throwing knife and takes one out. The others flee in distress. In the next scene, it's night time and she's resting somewhere in an abandoned house. We finally get an introduction to some human characters. Well, it's the first time we've seen them in this issue, and guess what? They ain't up to any good. Tara knows they're there, and she's drawing out one of her throwing knives in preparation, just in case they're about to attack. Listening to their conversation, you know for sure their intentions are not good. Okay, just want to show another couple of pages before I start the story summary. I don't want to spoil the ending, of course. Look at the action here, penned by Chris Wildgoose. It's really good. There's like minimal dialogue here. You can see the panel progression is showing this pretty vicious attack. But look at Tara, she can take care of herself. But of course, she's not overpowered. She gets hit, she gets struck, she's in trouble. How's she going to get out of this? She's down on the floor with that old guy approaching her with his sword. You see, what did I tell you? A few clever knife tricks ain't enough up here. This is what you get when you wander the North Roads alone, frog face. And there we have it. I do hope you enjoyed my story summary. Here's a little look at some of the variant covers for this issue. Beautiful art there. There's one by Cliff Chang, as you can see. But yeah, I would recommend this. It's a great series to jump in on. As I say, issue 6 just dropped, so you've only got 6 to catch up on. Well, I say only, but once you start reading, I'm sure you'll be pulled into the story like I was. If I have to give this a rating, as a standalone issue, just for issue 6, I'm going to give this a very strong 8.5 out of 10. But for the series so far, from what I've read, as I say, I'm up to halfway through issue 3. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. And hopefully, it will just continue to get better and better as we go on. Okay, as always, thank you so much for watching this far. This has been Gray from Wakizashi's Teahouse. Hoping you drop a comment. If you're not subscribed, do consider subscribing. It would be great to have you as part of the Wakizashi Teahouse Dojo. And big shout out to all my members out there. I really appreciate you. Your support is always incredible. Thank you and see you in a future video. Mata ne.